today I told you guys I have an amazing guy in studio. Man, unatoka Kenya ukiwa Mkenya, unarudi ukiwa a Canadian. Now I want to know, wewe ni nani, unaitwa nani na unafanya nini?
Okay, so jina yangu ni Alain Baden Humura, right? Sasa naenda kugraduate university, nimemaliza na degree ya econ and history. And yeah, I'm a Canadian, as you said. I used to be a refugee, as it's going to be talked about later, right? Yeah, so that's, I guess, where I am right now, and I do public policy work. So nafanya kazi na social services and governments, and yeah.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Now, let's just talk about this whole journey. Paka kwenye umefika. You know, we keep on saying politicians take their kids overseas because the education system is actually easier. Now, right now, as a man with a degree,
yes,
has it been easy?
That's a joke, right?
My
God. You know, the university system is quite tough, right? And that's the reason it exists. So you have to work, right? And you're working at an age where you're transitioning, right? Una grow up, una learn new challenges. You're meant to be an adult. You're meant to find work. You're meant to manage this kind of precarious economy tuko nayo yenye kwa kila mahali with COVID. So it hasn't been easy, but, you know, you have to put in the work because that's, you know, you have to do it because you have to get somewhere. You have to make something of your life, no?
And I know the pressure is even worse when you have immigrant parents. Wewe, nilikuleta Canada unalala.
For this reason, eh? Yeah. Ni lazima tupatie retirement. We're retirement plan, ndio wanasema,
most
right?
definitely.
Yeah. So.
For every African parent, the retirement plan is the children.
Of course.
Now, let's get into it. So, you left Kenya when you were 12 years old,
yes.
and you left through UNHCR. Now, we have so many refugees in Kenya who are in the same system, but mpaka waleo hawajawai toka Kenya.
Imagine.
Yes, but you were on an end where ulikuwa una receive some refugees, unawa train, you take them around.
Sindio.
So what does that look like? Like wakifika wanakuanga like, oh my God, I just made it. You know, like what does it look like?
You know, a lot of the people I actually worked with were quite shy, and language is such a it depends, right? Because mimi nilikuja nilisomea hapa, they teach English here, so I was literate, right? So there's people who have that literacy, and it's easier to transition because you can speak the language. But for some people, imagine you can't speak a language and you've just been dropped dead somewhere else. Of course, you know, there's auko kwa hiyo shida zenye ulikuwa nazo kitambo, uko na some social safety net, but language is a barrier for sure, and you have to, and part of that training is, you know, supporting people and actually learning the language and being comfortable. Now kukaa nao na uambie it's fine, and then kuwasaidia kupata penye watakuwa na community, kwa sababu inajua difference ya hapa na Canada na Kenya especially ni venye hakuna, it's hard to find community there. It's really hard because of the kind of individualistic mindset that really is predominant there. So it's a lot of grindset mindset, going to work, coming home, not engaging with people. So it's important for people to really make friends and make bonds, especially with, you know, different refugees and immigrants that are coming in.
Wow, so you left when you were 12.
Yeah.
I want to know, were you in a private school mara ya kwanza before uende ama a public school?
Yeah, I was in a public school.
You were in a public school?
I was in a public, yeah.
So ndio hadi to confirm tujue kama ni ukweli. What do public schools look like in Kenya?
I mean, ukiwa ndani hawezi kusema kuna shida, seriously, that's life, right?
By the way, you don't know anything different.
You don't know anything else. So it's not even like, hey, you're going through the day and you're a child, so you kind of, you can say it's rough, but it's like, hey, that was the situation, and I'm not gonna say, okay, I was bad. I had great memories, I had great friends, I had great teachers as well. So I still have good memories of some people. So you know, it is what it is, but it's a relative comparison. Obviously, there's a big difference, right?
So when you did get to Canada, did you go to a private school or a public school? Like, what is the transition like, especially for children? Because I understand for a grown-up, when you get there, number one, you get to be conversant with the language, you're helped out in applications for jobs, but for kids, ni shule unaingia shule, so ulirudishwa nyuma. What was it like?
So a little bit of context there is that, you know, most schools in Canada are public schools, right? Because wanataka nini, we invest a lot of money in the public education system. Na private schools like inaletanga shida, kuweka pesa kwa private schools means that you are not helping everyone. So there's a kind of idea of equality and justice so that everyone can access
That is so
education.
cool.
So yeah, the private schools are they're in the minority, right? So that's a lot of, it's very good, and so the public school system is very good. So of course unaingia kwa public school system, na venye nilikuwa nakwambia I was one of those children who enjoyed, reading and watching movies, and I was obsessed with, saying these funny English lines. So I wasn't really put back, right? I was, and I think the system is also much stricter when you're younger, and the expectations, the pressure is high, right? So nilitoka hapa nikiwa class 7, so tukashuna, I was managing that, KCP inaenda kukuja, so I was already prepared in some fashion. So I had no problem actually doing the hard work venye nilifika huko. So I didn't really have any challenges, but I know if you think about someone who doesn't have the language, who doesn't have those disparity, there's people who I knew who were struggling, right? And so they had to get a little bit of support as well. But that support exists, right?
That support exists.
Yeah.
And you ended up being the support, baby.
I did.
Oh my God.
I did.
Now, I think the other problem that we usually have as Africans is moving to a new continent and then culture shock. Umezoea kukula skuma na ugali Monday to Sunday, and then you guys have what baby spinach. Yeah, the things that we're not
and
used
lettuce and whatever, asparagus and all that bullshit. Huh? Yeah.
Now, what I want to know is the disparity. Did you get to get comfortable immediately, or is this something that took time? Especially because you had moved with your family, The thing about kukumgeni is you stick out,
Yeah.
People can tell you're new, people can tell you're different. So what was that like?
It's interesting. That question is very interesting because I feel like I've always felt like a little bit different in both places. It's not as though this was a new experience. And for me, it's always about family and connection is always about, feeling like home is always about being around people who like you and making those bonds. So, of course, the friendships take time, right? And those, I actually really made really close friends when I got to junior high, because that's what they call it, grade 7, grade 8, whatever. They call it junior high. And I made some really good friends because there's a lot of Africans in the city that I actually went to. So that was not actually an issue, and we could just connect. We could be like, hey, we're both immigrants. We don't understand these white people, right? We can we can connect on that, right? Because we have a shared sort of cultural experience. So that was okay and fine, but it was still kind of an adjustment. And I really actually saw it as an opportunity to sort of try something on new, because I felt like, here there was some restrictions that I was feeling, because I think, I don't know, there's some social expectations for boys to, always be sporty and do all these things. And you know what, it's not that I didn't care for it, it's that I didn't get to enjoy it, right? You go to the field and, some people get to play the soccer ball for the whole time.
Like your brother is a footballer.
I know, he's a footballer and he gets the football, and
you're totally different.
I'm not that, people didn't pass me the ball and I said, that's it. Oh
my goodness, you can't use those words. Oops, but we move on swiftly. Yes.
Sorry, this is the Canadian in me coming out. I said F that shit, and I moved on out, and I did whatever I wanted. So there was a bit of transition on both ends, right? So I see the connection, and of course it takes a long time also there to sort of make those to make those friendships last as well. So it's also been a moment of transition, but I miss both. Both have different things. They give different flavors. Huh?
Okay. I just want to know, but when people actually move, do their lives actually change? Because it's ridiculous for me to be doing 3 jobs in Africa. Honestly, our economy has, well, there's no right word to actually describe it. It gets worse and worse and worse, especially with the current government that we have in Kenya. It is a pandemic, let me tell you. So looking at a young person like me, I'll definitely have to have at least 2 jobs for me to make ends meet, for me to afford school and whatnot. So when people actually get resettled, do their lives change? Do I have to do 2 to 3 jobs to make ends meet? Tuseme ukweli.
There's definitely an improvement, but sikusema ati hautafanya kazi, you'll have to work as well, right? It's you probably would need one job because there's still loans that you have to pay off and all that stuff if you're studying as a student. But I feel like it's much easier because there's a lot of supports that are provided if you're someone who, the government supports, but gives grants if you are at a certain income. So kama hamna pesa nyumbani, you can get some support from the government and you can find scholarships or ways to navigate that if you're doing school. Lakini you can find a job, but it's also, the economy there is also quite tough and competitive. So everyone is having to fight to get a job as well, and your CV has to be really, really good for you to land. Even something as simple as a summer internship, right? Because those are, that's where you need to sort of get to the next step to get, a job at a company or something like that. So you can, there's better social safety nets, but kusema ati hautafanya kazi ati you'll go there and everything will be paid for and everything. That's not the reality. You have to do a little bit of work and you have to be focused and you have to have an idea where you're going. Yeah.
Now, as compared to a country like Kenya where a lot of us are having a hard time getting jobs, man, I think the greatest problem we have as young people is this thing called unemployment. Number one, a lot of public offices, the nepotism is crazy. You will never get a job. You'll find uncle ya nani anafanya na auntie ya nani, mtoto wao ni nani. Like the hierarchy is crazy.
Yep.
Yes, and then there's this aspect of colorism, especially in Mombasa.
Oof.
Like if you are not rangi ya dhao kidogo kupata kazi na kwa ngumu, So also I'm looking at a lot of offices, especially in places like Nairobi. For you to get a job in inakulipa 70k, 80k, unaitishwa hongo ya 200,000. And if you're looking for a job, you don't have the money, you do not have the capacity.
2,000
itatoka wapi?
Yeah.
It is ridiculous for you to ask for 200,000 for a job that will pay me 50k, 60k. I will not find the money. I will not find the money. So do you guys have the same problems, or is it actually easier for you to find a job? Because I'm looking at the number of young people who have degrees in Kenya. We are thousands, but tumekuwa tukitamak manze. And when we do get jobs, the pay is actually miserable.
I think Yoshida Iko, I think maybe hapa it's at a bigger scale, right? But you cannot get a job without experience. That's just the reality. A degree is not going to get you anywhere. Na kitambo, it used to be able to say, hey, I have a degree in economics. Hey, I'm going to go work for the bank. That's not happening anymore. You have to have some bank experience first. You have to do some internships first. And you have to get that. And your point ya nepotism yenye nilikuwa nasema, to some extent I think watu wanapendanga kufikiria na pia uko, there's some people there as well who wants to think that it's all meritocratic, but hey, it's not. It's about networks. It's about being able to sort of write some random person an email in the company and say, hey, I'm very desperate for a job, or I want to meet you, or I think we're a great match and stuff like that. So you need to have those connections. You need to build those connections, and it helps to have a family, but there's also like really good networking opportunities that you can get. So you need to be on your toes, because there's some people who as well there who have a BA in something and they're working as a barista, and that's not gonna, and they're very unhappy with their lives. So that's it's an issue there. Unemployment is an issue everywhere. It's tough.
Crazy. Now, I think when we talk about refugees, there's this common misconception that we are uneducated, we are people who are desperate for jobs, and the crazy thing is, this narrative is one of those narratives that are really, really hard to change, especially in a place like Kenya. I have met a few refugees, juu hauna work permit, hauna documentations, you can get a proper job. So unapata umesoma, yes, but unazungushanga vitenge. Umesoma, yes, but unauzanga kahawa. And this common misconception inakufuatanga, unfortunately, even when you get a corporate job. And people are like, guy, you're a refugee, but hauna accent, guy, you're a refugee, but you have a degree, So as a person who has received refugees coming into Canada, and you help them like get assimilate practically, and transition, what is the common misconception you actually encounter when they are interacting with natives?
I think sijui kama ni politics ya sahi yenye imefika kwa hiyo pahali, but people like talking about how they're taking their jobs or doing such and such, and it's just like, the reality of the situation is that people, they're just being scapegoated, right? Because refugees are people as well. And it's interesting to think about it, because citizens really have privileges that refugees don't. And that's just a reality. You know, the person who is a citizen can get the degree and maybe even have connections on the ground. And it's much easier to get a job than a refugee who doesn't have that. And so some of the challenges is people having these kinds of assumptions and being not only surprised, but, you know, feeling like you're kind of different inherently, and at uni you're not like us, and you know, they emphasize so much the difference. And part of negotiate that you need to fit in, and there's, you know, this idea of, you know, code switching. Sumeisikia hiyo maneno. You have to speak a certain way when you're in the corporate culture or you're in the offices. So a lot of that is learning how to shapeshift. A lot of that is learning, you know, and you have to accept that, right? If you're someone in that position, you have to accept that you can't be your authentic self everywhere, and that's just okay. You know, that's just a part of the reality. I know some people, it surprises, you know, some white people that that's a part of the reality, but it is the reality. So you have to learn how to negotiate that, and then you have to learn where you're going to get your support from, right? Who are going to be the people who are going to be pumping you up, sharing you the connections, you know, finding you support. So I think that's a big part for even people here and there as well, right? Finding those support, being genuine, and trying to make connections with as many people as you can, right? And being flexible.
Wow. Now, I think as young people, pia kama kuna kitu yenye tunachukia is the fact that a lot of our politicians are very two-faced, yeah? So you will find you are a stakeholder in the education system, but your kids don't study in Kenya, which is just ridiculous, you know? So you find a politician has like 3 kids, but all of them are studying in Canada, they're studying in the US. They come back with degrees, and you know, the thing about being exposed is you come back with a very, very different mind. So even the type of ideas that you come up with are ideas that are coming from a point of exposure. You know, these things are possible. Now, unfortunately for our education system, bro, squeezy hadi kupata loan ya kwenda shule ni noma. You know, we have reached a point where our government is not even allocating funds for people to go to public schools. So as a person who experienced the Kenyan education system and then you transitioned to a totally different system, what do you wish was actually different when you were still in Kenya?
Oh yeah, this is a tough question, eh?
Yes,
it's
yes,
a very tough
exposure. We must fix the country.
Najaribu kufikiria, because I think part of the difference, and this is for me, nakumbuka, it was a very competitive system, right? That was a big part of that. And as someone who was good at that thing, at being able to sort of
Ulishe kukua number 1, sindio?
Yes, that was my
I
was grinding. So that was part of my identity. So I nilikuwa na enjoy kukua na hiyo kitu, but we don't have that system there, and so it's a little bit different. So hakuna hiyo kuonyesha vitu za rank, na maybe watu wanasikia sasa they have the possibility, they think of themselves as individuals. So you don't think you're competing with the next person. You think of, how can I improve myself? How can I be better than what I am? And I think that to some extent hiyo inaweza kusaidia ndio watu waende their own path. Si lazima ufuate path ya kila mtu. You don't have to be an academic weapon, as they say, right? You can just, you know, if you're good at something, if you're good at cooking, you can become a chef. If you're good at plumbing, you can become that and make a living out of it. We don't all have to become, you know, lawyers and doctors, etc., right? So that's a big part of that system, is that everyone gets to have their own path, and everyone gets to think of their own future. And I think hiyo ikiingia kwa education system inaweza kusaidia, inaweza kupatia clarity for a lot of things, other than kusema this is the only path and this is the only way everyone has to go down. Yeah. Now,
from your answer and your previous statement,
diplomatic,
very, very, your PR game. Wait. Now, as a person who has studied in Canada and now you have a degree. Yes. And you've come back to visit Africa. Now, my question is, would you be willing to come back and work here? Also, looking at the pay gap, the living lifestyle, you know.
I fear in this economy I'm trying to make as much money as I can for my future.
So the answer is hell no.
That's the priority, yeah? It depends. I mean, there's some NGOs who work here and governmental organizations who work here. So if, I would love to come back, because I think the culture and the vibe are a little bit different. There's more community here, as I say, than there is there. And so I would love to work here in any capacity that I could, but obviously I'm thinking of my future first, and so I'm going to take the places that offer the most suitable funds.
Wow, that is so beautiful. One thing I must say is, I think a lot of the time when we talk about refugees, the word has been made one of those things that is very, very negative. So let's talk about that.
No, I feel like we need to do a bit of myth busting, because I think I don't want people to hear me and then perceive that, hey, it was an easy journey. I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones, right? It's a struggle for a majority of us, and I think I just want people to treat them as just other human beings. I mean, tunaishi kwa dunia yenye, it's about nationhood and nationhood, and all of your privileges banked on you being a citizen of whomever or whatever, right? And so watu kama hao wenye hawana citizenship, inakuwa rahisi they fall through the cracks, because the system is like, do we know how to handle these people? No. Or, shida za countries, if you have rough times, economic times, it's easy to scapegoat. So I want to say that, I'm not the poster child of, the refugees around the world, and people need to be more kind to other people and be generous and be open, because that's what you want. You want a nice life. You want a happy life, and a good life is made from connection. So just wanted to emphasize that.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Now, moving on swiftly, you have come back, but tuseme tu ukweli, I don't think you are on the same level with the peers that you left behind. So, as a young person, especially because you came to have fun with them, but you cannot have fun with broke people. Yeah? You cannot have fun with the jobless. Ukweli tu same way. You want to go enjoy a vacation in Malindi Diani jamani. Eloi hata mia sina. Now, how does it make you feel as a young person when you find marafiki zako wako 10 steps behind you?
I don't like thinking of it in that way, but I think for sure kuna hiyo economic disparity, obviously, right? Ukifanya kazi huko, of course, the dollar comes with a heftiness, right? So, of course, I'm always acknowledging that, and I'm always aware of that, and I want to support them as much as possible, right? So that's always a part of it, but having a different experience does not mean your life is not meaningful, huh? You can make the most out of your life and out of the situation that you have, and so ni ku-acknowledge na kusaidiana, but it's also to say that, I'm not done because I don't have that, right? You have to appreciate what you have ultimately, because, we're going through different situations and going through different struggles. The struggle doesn't end, huh? It never does, yeah?
Wow, that is so beautiful. Now, KAMS, ulikuwa unauliza how can I become a refugee to go to Canada?
Nilikuwa nauliza hiyo swali yangu. I think system yetu ya Kenya na system ya Canada are different, by the way. You've experienced both systems, and the lifestyle in Canada, also the lifestyle in Kenya are so different. I've heard you've said that in Kenya there's the culture, there's the friendship, there's what. How is it in Canada that how can you adapt that experience that you have in Kenya in Canada?
I think it's being you have to be a lot more extroverted, I would have to say there, because you really have to find your people, because it's so easy to get mugged down with the hours and the work, right? So you need to ni kupata rafiki na kujaribu kukua rafiki na kila mtu.
But I think isn't there a community of Kenyans, East Africans?
They are, but they only meet once in a while, right? And it's hard to find those people immediately, right? So and depends on where you are, actually. It depends on the city. Some cities have that, some cities don't.
Okay.
So I think the one thing I've always wondered is, ukishapanda hiyo ndege ukifika, immediately what happens? Like, do you leave me at the airport and now I have to find my own living?
Immediately when you land in Canada, let's say any city, what happens?
Depending on how you got there, right? You should have some kind of support, right? It's usually through a sponsorship system. Na kama unakuja kama economic migrants, mnapatiwa mtu mwenye anakuja na kuonesha around, right? It's usually some organization is coming to help you. Hey, you'll stay here for temporarily, na hizo plans zako zinakonga finalized ukikuwa umefika, because huko they need to know that you're going to have somewhere to stay before you even get there, so that always has to be guaranteed. So si kuanguka kwa dropping into the ocean like that, huh?
Wow, that is so nice.
You had a better experience than us, because when I go to embassy and apply for visa,
bro,
it takes only 2 seconds for you to be rejected. It's a different experience when you got there when you were young. It was easy for you, but
it's easier
some
when you're
of
younger.
us, you go there with your passport, documents, everything, but reject you, they reject you.
Yeah.
And I don't know, how can we abduct ourselves and
I think it was actually
land
the
in-
same for you guys. How long were you guys in the system before you actually went to Canada? It was years, right?
It was years.
It was
think
like-
years even before I was born. Right? So it's not.
it's not easy.
It's
It's
not
not
happening
easy.
like
It's not
this.
easy, yeah.
Yeah. It's waiting and hoping and praying, huh?
And interviews after interviews after interviews, applying for resettlement, rejections. So you'll find maybe umeenda kufanya interview kwa embassy flani, they're like, no, you're sent to another one, ivo. Unarudi drawing board. Actually, I have seen the way people queue up for interviews at UNHCR, and it is ridiculous the number of refugees we actually have in Kenya. And what's crazy is a lot of the time these people don't even have alien cards, so you're reduced to very, very minimal jobs. You have qualifications, you are educated, but unauzanga tu mandazi man na degree.
Just
But
a quiz.
is it easy for someone to get a working permit when he lands in Canada?
No, you need to go through the process, and right now they're looking for people who have those degrees down to one. Those countries love people with their masters and whatever. So that's usually the preference that they give. So that's usually the path that's easiest. People, they think, okay, this person will fill this gap in the economy, but they're always thinking about that. Yeah.
And what if the skills people, the people who learn to work with their hands, like the plumbers,
Yeah, those are you can come through those because they also need those, but those visas I think are more temporary. More temporary. The more permanent ones are usually like nurses and engineers and IT people and stuff like that.
After how long do you get a Canadian passport?
You have to go through a whole process, so you have to, I'd say, like 6 years.
6
years.
6 years. So yeah, not immediately, because you have to go through a system.
What if I go there as a student? I studied my degree, I take 4 years, I finish my degree, I add another 2 years, it's already 6 years. Will I get my passport or?
It's different because you have to go through. You actually have to work. And you have to apply to be able to get into it's called the permanent resident system, because you get to be a permanent resident first, and then you get citizenship later. So it's not immediate like that as well.
So while you're a student, can you get that permanent residence?
Usually people get it after they have
Worked
they've been
for a
there.
while.
They've worked a little bit for a while, or even after they graduate. So it's not immediate. Yeah. It's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy.
It's that hard, eh?
Saa ingine ni noma. Now, you left ukiwa 12 years old, and now here you are, a degree holder. You're almost becoming a lawyer. A few years from now, when you come back, you're going to be saying,
JD, eh?
Yes. So, what would you tell that little boy?
I don't know, to just that guy was actually doing a lot of things actually in my reflection. I'm just proud of him. I want to say I'm proud of you and keep going. Yeah? Keep going. Yeah.
And to every single young refugee in the country who is looking for resettlement or just looking for papers so that they can fit in the system, what would you tell such a person, especially because you have been receiving so many of them?
I think you have to prioritize choosing what matters for you in life, finding what can make you happy, at least that, and that might mean, working at a job you don't like temporarily, or, trying to figure it out, but you have to try and make your situation work. That's just the end of it, right? Just at the rub, right? So just find a way to make your situation work. If you have goals and ambitions, you can go for them, but don't be disappointed. It's not the end of the world if you don't get what you're looking for, because I feel like that's a lot of the situation. It's the ups and downs and the managing rejection.
You sound like my high school motivational speaker.
I know, right? Watu walikuwa waongo. Watu walikuwa waongo.
You
It's so
sound like
easy
my high
to
school
tell a
motivational
person.
speaker. It's hard. It's not that.
It's
hard.
It's coming from experience. It's coming
What
from
if
experience.
people like us, like youths, a lot of youths, we love money, and it's hard for us to get that money.
I know, right?
How can you advise us to get that money?
I have nothing to say about that. I don't know anything.
You're also looking for the
I'm
money.
also looking. Hey.
You're also looking for the money.
Hey, yeah.
So it's hard everywhere.
Yeah, it is. It's tough.
Stuff everywhere. So but it's not that much easy as it is in Kenya.
I think it's harder here.
It's harder in
It's
Kenya.
harder here, man.
Somebody said
So,
it.
yeah, I
Asante,
wanted
tunaweza
that, I
funga
wanted
show
that,
sasa.
yeah.
You know, this is what I've been looking
It's hard in
for.
Kenya. Maisha huku Kenya ni kugumu. Hey.
Mama Mama
Anyway, if there's any slot for refugees, kindly consider me. I'm a refugee. Sina kwetu. Tafadhali.
I will say it's easier for citizens, huh? I'll say that. It is. I'll say that.
But anyway, what I'll say, thank you for coming. Thank you for
welcome.
that insightful interview. I've learned a lot. I didn't expect that it will be. I thought it was easy in Kenya. Kumbe Kenya ni kugumu.
No, actually, what's crazy is...
if you can survive in Kenya, you'll survive
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
So you gave me Canadian dollars, and then I was... Are they called Canadian dollars?
Cards, yeah.
Cards. So I come flaunting them, and then the first person who took a picture with the money, let me tell you, young people love money. It was KAMS. Oh my God.
You know, people saw I was rich. It was $55.
Yes, you mean business.
I was very rich.
You mean
5,000 Kenyan
business.
shillings. I was very rich.
5,100.
That's someone's salary.
That's somebody's salary.
Yeah, I was very rich.
Where we? Oh my goodness. No, unfortunately, tumefika tamati. Man, I've been your girl DORCAS.
I've been a DJ DJ KAMS, and today we had a wonderful guest.
Alain.
Alain hivyo tu.
Yeah.
Enyewe watu wako na pesa wananga mbwembwe.
Umesikia?
Mmeng'ang'ana DORCAS.
Hii ni majuu. Tuko majuu, bro.
Exposure.
Sound. You should sound like a Canadian right now.
Exposure. Na kila time tukifunga tukwambia
Marhaba.
marhaba.